everybody, and welcome to the 13th episode of the Coffin Corner Podcast. I'm your host, GoodNightPunk, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Richie. Richie, we are not afraid of the number 13 here, apparently.
We are not. That's a outdated, what do you call it? Boy, I am just blanking. Superstition. Man, long day. Let me tell you that. Wives' tale, yes. Wives' tale superstition. Yeah, man, episode 13. It's flying by. You figure the season is statistically half over. We are in the back half of the season, so. Well, of course, including the playoffs, which I am assuming we'll be doing the podcast all the way throughout the Super Bowl at least. So, yeah, we have more than halfway to go, but regular season wise is halfway over.
For sure, and it's crazy that are we halfway through the bye weeks? Because holy crap, I'm tired of fantasy football bye weeks.
The last bye weeks are week 14, I believe. So no, we are not, because we still have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We still have 5 weeks of bye weeks left.
Ugh, I hate it. I hate bye weeks so much.
I know. Man, back when I played fantasy football, bye weeks were super annoying. But this year, my teams all decided to gift me a year off from competing. So it's been relaxing. I'm out of the playoffs statistically in all 7 of my leagues. So I just get to kick back and enjoy the sport.
Yeah. Well, it's nice of your teams to have done that for you.
Yeah, it was an early Christmas present for them to all band together. And Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Kyle Pitts, all those guys. Right. I appreciate it.
You did manage to beat me a couple weeks ago, so there's that.
I did. I snuck a 5-point win in there. Gotta keep you on your toes.
That was such a bad week for my team. But yeah, I just continue to get stronger when people drop Roquan Smith for Blake Martinez, who then retires.
I have to imagine the Ravens are on their bye this week. That's the only I didn't look, but that's the only thing I thought is. They are. Okay, they are. So he just, I guess, needed a replacement and maybe didn't have the roster space. But, yeah, unlucky for the guy you pick up to retire the next day.
Especially if you put him in and you're not checking your team until after they play games, because he's going to realize he got no points from that guy. Also dropped Roquan Smith. And
at that point, you might as well just played Roquan Smith on his bye week.
Exactly. And then you don't lose a 25-year-old really good linebacker in a dynasty league.
Well, luckily, I play poker next Thursday with that guy, so we'll see how it plays out, and then I'll get to mock him mercilessly.
I want to hear how that goes, actually. That'd be great. All right, well, we're going to jump right into the top 5. This week's top 5. You have a juicy one. I was really excited about this once you mentioned the idea. It's not really an in-season type thing, but it is an important thing. So
it is an important thing, and I'm gonna let you go first, seeing as how you outright cheated in your top 5. So, please start us off with your number 5s.
This doesn't say top 5. It doesn't have to be 5.
Does it not say top 5 favorite players?
Yeah, all these players are on number 5, and there's 5 bullet points.
Okay, you found a loophole. You couldn't decide. It was Sophie's choice, and you just chose nothing.
Just pretend that this one is any one of them could 5. Be it, because I can't really figure out anyone good for this, because they've all come and go so quickly that they can't be a favorite for me. But
that's fair.
For example, number 1, I'll go with the oldest one on this list, and that is Mike McMahon, who was a quarterback for the Lions for after Joey Harrington and before Joey Harrington. He bridged the gap before they drafted Joey Harrington. He was the starter, and he was finally going to start for an entire season, and then it was just like, let's start the rookie Joey Harrington. And then Mike McMahon got no time to show what he could do in a full season. So he was my favorite non-quarterback named Matthew Stafford. I really like Mike McMahon. He was a running quarterback back when there were no running quarterbacks, and that's what I loved about him. But Mike McMahon, halfbacks as far as that goes. Joik Bell and Jamal Williams for the same reason. They were both the second guy that was just scored a lot of touchdowns and hyped up the crowd like crazy. Gotta love the guys that are like way into the fans and are still good enough to play games when the starter goes out. Javid Best I put on this list because I thought he was amazing, and I was pissed for him when the concussion issues kept him out of football, made him have to retire early. He was super fun to watch. I remember at one point he had so many 50-plus yard runs in a season. I think it was a rookie season or something like that, it was more than anyone had for the Lions in like 10 years. It was crazy. And then I've got Kenny Golladay. I love Kenny Golladay. And Ndamukong Suh. I would say if I had to pick one guy to be number 5, it would be Ndamukong Suh. I was the biggest Ndamukong Suh apologist there ever was. I loved him as a player, and the second he left, it was all gone. I'm like, okay, maybe he was a little dirty, okay, but the whole time he was on the Lions, I'm like, if he didn't put his knee there, if he didn't put his head there, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. Why is your head under his foot?
Yeah. Just because he kicked backwards doesn't mean he was trying to kick him in the nuts, okay?
I remember Javid Best. That dude was a beast and unfortunately just couldn't stay healthy. And you're right. I mean, Joik Bell, Suh, Golladay. There's a lot of great players that the Lions had, but unfortunately didn't have for too long.
Yeah. It was always like Suh left after his second contract. Golladay left after his first.
Yeah.
Bell was just a undrafted running back that kept getting signed every year. Javid Best, concussions, crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, I get it. Well, I stuck to single players for each of mine. I'm going to start us off with Terry McLaurin. I know he's young for the team, just re-signed, drafted in 2019, I believe, 3rd round, so might be a little early to put him on my list of all-time favorites, but the reason he's on there, not only has he blossomed into one of the best receivers in the league, despite shaky quarterback play at best.
Yeah. Despite never having a quarterback that played a full season.
Yes. He's a locker room leader, just a great guy. And he's the first Washington player that earned himself a second contract and got it. That I can remember. Just thinking back, like over the last 10, 15 years, there's been a lot of players that we have drafted, not re-signed, and then I see them on other teams, and I'm just like, oh, look at them playing well, at staying healthy and doing it for another team because for some reason we didn't want to pay them. So I was really excited when they re-signed Terry. I bought his jersey. I was holding off until I knew he was going to be there for a while. And I just, man, I really want us to get a solid quarterback in next year's draft or free agency, but preferably the draft, so that he can finally have a reliable
consistent quarterback.
Yeah, like it's just seeing what he's done with like Taylor Heineke and Dwayne Haskins for a couple games and Carson Wentz. It's just like, imagine if this guy was catching passes from, Smith, right? Jimmy Garoppolo. Like if he was getting like even a level of like that type of quarterback, it's like, man, he could be so good. But yeah, I just love the guy off the field too. Just so much fun.
Yeah, hopefully that does happen. Then you can Johan Dotson.
Yeah, he could develop too. He just needs to get back on the field because now all of a sudden he's hurt and hasn't played in a couple weeks. So
he's in this week.
Yeah, he should be.
He's listed as without an injury designation now.
Oh, good. Well, he still has Taylor Heineke throwing in the ball against the Eagles, so don't expect too much.
True.
All right, who you got number 4?
My number 4 is a position that's not normally one you would put on a list like this, but mine is the kicker, old reliable Jason Hanson. 20 years as a Lion. Pretty much the entire time that I've been a Lions fan up until he retired. We never had to worry about kicker. And I'll tell you one thing. Once you lose something like that, you see how big of an issue it is for literally everyone else in the league. I think the Lions have been through 3 kickers this year. In the past few years, they've been through a bunch. Before they got Matt Prater, they were through a bunch. And for whatever reason, they didn't want to pay Matt Prater. So here we are in the situation where we're playing roulette with kickers every week. Jason Hanson was amazing. And I looked this up because I was curious some of the stats where he leads the league still to this day since his retirement. And he connected 82% of his field goals in his 21-year career. 82%. He holds the NFL records for most field goals of 40-plus yards, most consecutive field goals of 40-plus yards at 24, the most career games with one NFL team. So, he's the one player in the league that has been on only one team for the most amount of games, and that is 327 games as a Lion. And he's has the most game-winning field goals in overtime with 9. So I think that pretty much all speaks for itself when it comes to Jason Hanson, the kicker.
Yeah. Well, when you look at kickers, I mean, most kickers have pretty short careers, and that's you playing 20 years, 21 years. I mean, that's incredible.
So the only ones that I would say are comparable are like Morton Anderson, Gary Anderson, Adam Vinatieri. Like those are the only names that I can come up with.
It's funny. I thought about putting Tressway on my list, our current punter, just because that dude bombs the ball and he's awesome, but just not in my top 5. Top 10 for sure. Tress, if you were listening, no offense.
Dude, and he's a funny interview.
Oh, he is. Speaking of funny interviews, my friend, my number 4, Clinton Portis. That guy created so many different characters for his post-game interviews and press conferences. He was hilarious to watch. Not to mention electric on the field in his prime. As I've mentioned, I am a big fan of running the football and old school NFL. He wasn't a power runner. He was just a fantastic zone running back. I loved having a running back of his caliber. Man, we haven't had a running back like that. I mean, Alfred Morris had a year or two, but Clinton Portis just fantastic, and of course so funny. Yeah, one of my favorite all time for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I remember watching him a lot. I'm pretty sure I had him on a bunch of different.
Yep, and imagine, I mean, we got him in a trade when we sent Champ Bailey away, and I remember being pissed off when we sent Champ Bailey away. And then Clinton Portis started running the ball for us. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll live.
Yeah, he's I'm looking at their all-time stats. Number 2 behind John Riggins. And he's 600 yards behind him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right
oh, yeah, Riggins all time, but who's third and how far away are they from Portis? I'm just curious if you looked it up.
Third is Larry Brown from 1969 to 1976 with 5,875 yards.
How far behind Portis is that?
1,000.
Okay.
And then only 100 yards behind him is Stephen Davis.
Oh yeah, Stephen Davis is another good one. But Clinton Portis had the personality. That's what really made him stand out.
Yeah, for sure. And he's one that I would remember even if you didn't mention him. Stephen Davis, I remember when I hear his name, but he's not one that I'm like, name some Washington running backs. I wouldn't go. Probably take me a minute to remember Stephen Davis.
Yeah. Oh, me too. He was, I see, and I'm thinking like he was probably late 90s. Yeah.
This is kind of crazy. Adrian Peterson is number 19 on your list. In 31 games with 1,940 yards.
Go AP, man. That's pretty impressive. While you're going over your number 3, I'm just going to look up our
even RG3 is 26th. With 1480, that's crazy. All right, my number 3 is the man, the myth, the legend, the current Super Bowl MVP, Matthew Stafford, who had 45,000 yards as a Lion in all the years he played. I think it was 13. 45,000 yards. The next closest Lion in yardage is Bobby Lane with 1,500. So as far as quarterbacks go for the Lions, Matthew Stafford, the best there ever was. And on top of that...
1,500 or 15,000?
Sorry, 15,000. Yeah,
oh,
15,000.
Okay.
But yeah, 30,000 more yards than the second place guy. And
Yeah,
I
that's
was
pretty
able
crazy.
to watch him from the draft all the way till he was traded. So I have been lucky enough to not play quarterback roulette in the 24 years I've been a Lions fan or watched every game. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Stafford
now
definitely
it's
there.
now you are though.
Well, yes, I
Yeah.
remember this place clearly back in the day with Dan Orlovsky and Dante Culpepper and Joey Harrington, Mike McMahon, all the freaking quarterbacks we had until we got Stafford.
Fun
John
time.
Kitna, like,
Oh god, yeah.
yeah, they were just ass ton of them.
You know, you got me curious, so I started looking at the Commanders' rushing stats. Adrian Peterson holds the record for our longest run in franchise history at 90 yards.
I see that. Yep.
That's crazy. All right, my number 3, I went Ryan Kerrigan. He was another one, almost a lifer. They re-signed him, I think once or twice. He played a few seasons, forget where, which is a shame because I would have loved for him just to stay in Washington forever. But he did retire a Commander. I think he is still currently an assistant coach for their linebackers, which is just awesome. I hope he sticks around and becomes positional coach. But that dude was a pass rushing beast. He was him and it was funny. I remember we drafted him the year after we drafted Brian Arakpo, and they were supposed to be our two bookend linebackers. Arakpo never got re-signed, but Kerrigan stuck around. And again, I mean, you talk about just entertaining guys off the field. Great personality, awesome on the field. I loved his HBK celebration, of course. That always, made him stand out. Earned him the nickname HBK, Heartbreak Kerrigan. Just one of my favorites, and another guy whose jersey that I've got hanging up since he retired. I can wear it with pride now, not having to worry about him playing somewhere else, and people wondering, well, why do you have a Santana Moss Washington jersey when he's playing for the Jets?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, and I believe, so I didn't look up stats like you did. I just went off.
I got him right here. You want to know where he's at?
Is he the sack? I don't think he got the franchise
was
lead for sacks.
A sack and a half.
Yeah.
In second, he has 95.5 in his career, and the leader Dexter Manley had 97.
Yeah, I gotta remember that. Because he just needed to play like another half season and get again a sack and a half, but still amazing career. Still stands out. Still one of my favorite guys to watch.
Based on your bookend thing, I'd say it didn't end up too terrible. Or at least doesn't seem like it. Brian Arakpo is number 12 on the list with 40 sacks.
Yeah, see, if he would have gotten re-signed, he probably would have been like, they would have been 2 and 3 or 1 and 2 even, but they let Arakpo go to Tennessee, and I don't think he ever really found that much success there. But that's the problem is Dan Snyder would rather throw money at free agents than re-sign his own talent that they find. But I'm not going to get into Dan Snyder right now.
Crazy. Yeah, Arakpo had 7 sacks first season with Tennessee, 10.5 the next season, and 7 the next season. And then his final season, he only had 1.5. So,
yeah, see, we still could have gotten 3 more years out of him.
Yeah, because that's a pretty healthy number. Let's see, that would have been 37 more. He had 40 on the team in the 4 years he was there. So, for sure. My number 2, I didn't write anything for this. It's all it really speaks for itself. All you really got to do is look on YouTube for a highlight video. But that is Calvin Johnson, Megatron. the guy that single-handedly made every game the Lions play one that they could win. Because with Matthew Stafford and Megatron on the field on offense, you always knew there was a chance that you could win, because even when Stafford was like running around in the pocket to save his life, that always meant that one of the best receivers ever at getting open during a scramble would find himself open for Stafford to throw the ball to. And so all the long, deep passes with triple coverage, double coverage, he's the reason that I like tall receivers, because Calvin Johnson being I think 6'4", jumping literally over everyone that was ever around him to get the ball. I can picture so many of the catches that he's made, not to mention single-handedly changing football for the worst with the what is a catch, what's not a catch rules. Because they should have, I believe it was the Bears, they should have beat in week 1, but they called a obvious catch pass a incomplete, and they lose the game with no time left. So, yeah. He literally caught the ball, went down, set the ball down in the same motion to get up and celebrate, and they called it incomplete. I can picture the entire play in my head.
I remember because he was palming the ball, and he pressed, as he was getting up, he pressed the ball onto the ground to boost himself up and let the ball go. And they said, well, the ball touched the ground.
Yeah, it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And they still don't know what a catch is. So there you go.
Yep. Well, my number 2, I went a little bit older school. But for a guy that played a long time, I was actually looking to see here. He played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 seasons, all for Washington. Darrell Green, one of the best defensive backs in NFL history, in my opinion. Throughout the 80s and 90s, that dude was a lockdown corner. Is our reigning franchise interception leader with 54 in his career. Also our leading tackle leader.
Yeah,
yes.
And
it's funny, I looked at passes defended. The only reason he doesn't lead passes defended is because they didn't start counting that as a stat until 1999, and he only played 3 more seasons after that.
Yeah.
So that dude was a beast. He was so reliable, so dominant. I remember when we drafted Champ Bailey, I was like, oh man, maybe Champ Bailey's the heir apparent to Darrell Green. And then of course we traded him and I was mad, but I got over that. But yeah, Darrell Green, man, Washington doesn't have a lot of best player in the NFL in our history. It's very rare for us to have somebody that's like, who's the best player at this position, and Washington be on that list. But Darrell Green, year in and year out, was on that list.
Makes sense. When you look at those stats, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
that dude was awesome.
For sure. I find it interesting while I'm looking at that list that London Fletcher, a middle linebacker, is 6th all time for them.
On tackles?
Pass defended.
Oh, passes defended. Well, you know what's funny?
Corner, middle linebacker, corner, free safety, corner, then another linebacker.
Yeah. The other funny thing, London Fletcher, how long did he play for us? He only played for us for 7 seasons in his mid to late 30s. Yeah. But that dude came in and he came out of nowhere to play out of his mind. Yeah, that was awesome. But it's funny. This is off topic, but as I'm looking, because you got me curious now, I was looking at our franchise stats. We don't have a lot of people with huge stats because we don't have a lot of people that stick around for their entire careers. Like you were talking about Jason Hanson or Calvin Johnson and your next one, your number one. Washington doesn't get a lot of players that play multiple years. I mean, Terry McLaurin, I think, is already 13th in career receiving yards in 3 seasons. Like, if that dude plays his whole career and gets a quarterback, he's definitely going to be up there. But just real depressing to look at our team stats and been like, no one sticks around in Washington long enough to move up this list.
For sure. Yeah, that's can't relate as far as the offense goes for the Lions.
Yeah, you had 2 all-time greats on your team.
Well, and even if you look at like all-time stats for quarterbacks, Stafford's on that list.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. My number one is what, in my opinion, the best running back to ever play football, and that is Barry Sanders. So,
yeah, amazing running back.
Yeah, just the only reason that I'm a Lions fan, was electric. I mean, watching him run, I've never been a big cared too much about smash the ball up the middle of the line football because of the fact that Barry Sanders did that. But if there was someone there, he just juked and went outside and started juking everyone. The way he ran was the way I like watching football, or at least from a running back, especially like when I started watching that running back from the Steelers is probably the closest one to remind me of Barry Sanders in a long time. The one that
Najee Harris?
No, he was really good and then he left and he's just not even.
Le'Veon Bell?
Yes, Le'Veon Bell. The way he ran reminds me of Barry Sanders, and that's why I liked the idea of him coming to the Lions when they talked about it, because he just runs the ball. First of all, he runs standing up. He doesn't run with his shoulders down. He just runs standing up, looking at the field to just figure out where he's gonna like juke to. So it just always reminded me of Barry Sanders, because that's just what Barry did. Was he always made you miss and then ran for 10 yards. So I mean, with a career rushing average of 5, I mean, in 153 games,
that's pretty crazy.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's arguments about who's the best of all time, but he belongs in the top 3. I can't think of the only 3 that I think I've heard people talk about are Adrian Peterson, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders. Anybody who wants to say Emmitt Smith, no, wrong. And there's no one else that I think you can even argue. Those 3 you can talk about for all time, but there's no one else that belongs anywhere near those 3 in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only other one that I would accept is Walter Payton. That's the one that I will get the argument, or that's the only one I'll argue with someone about.
I've heard people talk Adrian Peterson because he did it for so long. But it's like, yeah. I agree. I don't know what it's like to have offensive players that are Hall of Famers. Like we have a couple, but man, in my lifetime, like Art Monk, I loved Art Monk, but he's a Commanders receiver. Like, if you're not a Commanders fan, you don't know Art Monk, but everybody knows Barry Sanders.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's why I can wear those jerseys and people would know who it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my number one is a bit of a sad one, is a bit of a tragic one, but he's always gonna be number 1 list. Sean Taylor, the gentleman behind me. He was well on his way. He at the time was the best safety in the NFL. At a very young age still. I mean, that dude just, as a free safety, as a ball hawk, always seemed to be, where the ball was, where the play was. As a tackler, he was just outstanding. And, unfortunately, very tragically, he lost his life at a young age due to a home break-in. Just freaking sad. He was a troubled youth in college and coming out, but had turned his life around. Had a wife and I believe a daughter, who he was protecting during the break-in, got shot in his leg, right in the artery, bled out, passed away. I think he was 25, 26 years old. I always remember we were in the Navy at the time, and I was cranking in the officers' mess, and they had the TV in there. So I'd be in there early morning getting ready for breakfast, and always have ESPN on, and talking about the news, and it was just like, man, unbelievable, just
sad.
But yeah, I mean, as far like you can think about like what would have been, if he had been able to play longer. I mean, would he have kept being at playing that high level? Would he have gone down as a Hall of Famer? Would he, all those things? But just the short amount of time that he had and being able to watch him on the field, that dude was just so much fun to watch. I will never forget. It's a clip that you see all the time. The Pro Bowl game where he just annihilates the punter on a return. He's like blocking and just levels the guy. No, I think it was the return man. But yes, it was in the Pro Bowl. Yeah, like in the Pro Bowl in Hawaii, he just destroys the guy. Like it's fantastic. But
you're gonna be on this
always
field.
Gonna be.
You better keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, he was like, I don't care. Just an amazing competitor and just all time one of my favorites, but just also like one of the most unfortunate circumstances.
For sure. Well, I have a question real quick on whether I have very little faith that our answer will not be the same on this one. But if you had to pick a favorite Cardinal, who would that be?
I mean, I've got to go Larry. Like he's
exactly.
like I mean, I loved Aeneas Williams, Calais Campbell. I always loved Darnell Dockett. Like, there's a lot of players that like. I can make a whole list of just like
corner.
top 5.
Was he corner or safety? Antrell Roll.
Oh, Antrell Roll. Yeah. I mean, I love Patrick Peterson. Yeah. There's a bunch of players you can name, but like you think of Cardinals and
Matthew
you think of Larry
Liner.
Fitzgerald. Yeah, naturally. John Skelton,
yes.
Max Hall, Cardinal Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor people. But yeah, Larry Fitzgerald, man, like that dude. Not just, and what's funny is like he's not just the best Cardinal of all time. It goes back to like Calvin Johnson. He's one of the best receivers of all time. Yep. He transcends the team, which is even more amazing. But yeah, that dude, he is Mr. Cardinal. And I still can't believe he just walked, like he just disappeared. He ghosted the
He didn't
NFL.
even retire.
Yeah.
He just left.
He didn't retire, didn't give himself a retirement ceremony or a farewell tour. He just ghosted the NFL, disappeared.
He was just like, and this is how I say farewell.
Yeah, I'm just done. But all right, well, that was a fun top 5. Just something besides talking about players that we want to break out or how much my fantasy football teams suck. I thought we'd just give us a chance to talk about the teams we love.
Absolutely.
Let's dive into our week 9 review. We're going to try to keep this one quick. Last week, I think we did almost 3 hours for the podcast. So we're actually going to try to make this one a little faster. And the good news is I was at the Cardinals game, so I didn't watch any of these games. So I don't have a lot to talk about. But we're going to start off Chargers at Atlanta. The Chargers didn't have any of their big receivers healthy. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen both gone, but they had no issues. Josh Palmer stepped up, 8 catches for 106 yards. For the Falcons, they ran the ball a lot, which seems to be the theme. Marcus Mariota seems to be kind of leveling out what we all expected as a mediocre quarterback. They're not using Kyle Pitts, which upsets me because I took him in like 3 leagues. And I want to ask you, now that they were leading the division at one point, but now, let's see where they are now. They are second.
Tied.
Yeah.
Well, they were tied going into last night with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And then they lost.
They
got waxed by the Panthers.
But here's the
thing.
That
division is still up for grabs, technically. But if you're the Falcons, you know what you have in Mariota. At what point do you need to put in Desmond Ridder and see what you have in him?
Well, here's the thing about that game, and that's a fair assessment after last night. But I picked the Falcons to beat the Chargers last week, and I almost won that bet. They didn't win. The Chargers won on a last-second field goal. So
Right, but Mariota didn't play well, which is why I'm asking.
No. Like, I just, it was that game was, they could be something if Mariota wasn't playing so bad.
Right, and that's what, yeah, exactly. So if I'm the Falcons, you know what you have with Mariota. He's been in the league long enough. He's not all of a sudden going to develop into a better passer. So do you keep him in there because, well, we're only a half game back, or you know, a game back if the Bucs win on Sunday? Or do you say, well, we drafted Ritter, we need to see what we have in him? I don't know. I wanted to ask you your opinion on that.
I think it's a combination of things for that team, because I was looking at Cordarrelle Patterson's stats. Not only has he been hurt, but after the first 3 games, that dude's been averaging like 40 yards rushing a game. Algiers not much better. Their rushing game is doing nothing now after being really good the first 3 weeks of the season. If they can get their running game back together, and if you were get something out of the quarterback position, they're 4-6, tied for, or 1 game behind for first. It's not like they're out of this. So I'm with you. They should make a change, at least try to win the division. Because when you lose to the Carolina Panthers, who are dropping players, some of their best players on offense, and are still scoring 25 and beating teams. They won 2 games since they got rid of CMC and Robbie Anderson. It's just crazy. You should not be losing to the Panthers.
Yeah, you know, there's usually teams will make a switch to a rookie quarterback when they're out of the playoff hunt. But to me, the Falcons need to do it to keep in the playoff hunt, to spark their offense and give them a chance to win more games. Mariota will win some games. He already has this year. I just don't think he's going to be enough to drag them into the playoffs. I think they need to switch to Ritter and be like, well, maybe he can electrify this team and you know, get us the rest of the way.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Miami, Chicago, it was a lot closer than I thought. I really thought Miami against the Bears defense, I thought they were going to blow them away. I did not expect the Bears offense to keep up. Miami's passing offense, dude, I mean, they're
Justin Fields went crazy in that game.
Justin Fields went, you know, there's always those games for he's not a rookie, but there's always those games where you look back on and been like, oh man, that's his breakout game. Mm-hmm. And it's like, is this Justin Fields' breakout game? And I'm sure you probably heard this if you watch ESPN, but after the Commanders game where the Bears looked like ass, they lost to us, the coaches sat down and said, we need to let Justin be Justin. They need to let him do what he did at Ohio State, which is the RPOs, run the ball more, and make him comfortable. And ever since then, that dude has gone off.
He looked like Lamar in that game.
Yes. Yeah, he's baby Lamar right now. He's not throwing for a ball. He only had 123 yards. He did have 3 touchdowns, but 178 yards rushing, which is the new record for rushing yards by a quarterback in a single game, breaking Michael Vick's record. Yeah, he's very exciting to watch. And if he can continue to develop as a passer and they can get him more weapons and you know, going forward, yeah, he could ascend to that Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa level where you know, they actually have an offense in Chicago. But of course my dad's ecstatic. I just, you know, I'm just glad they're letting him do his thing, because I remember like RG3 when they started and he was running and he was doing what he does, he had success, and then they wanted to make him more of a pocket passer because the injuries, and that didn't work out. So yeah, I hope it continues to work out for Justin Fields, and you know, he could maybe reach that Lamar Jackson level. I don't think he'll ever be as good of a passer as like Josh Allen, but he could be, you know, a good runner who can also throw like Lamar does.
Interesting as well. The newly acquired Jeff Wilson, like we talked about, running that dual running backfield from the 49ers in Miami now. Jeff Wilson, 9 carries. Raheem Mostert, 9 carries. And Wilson was their leading rusher in his first week.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
was pretty.
they threw all over Chicago's defense.
Oh yeah,
It's fine, and that's what I expected. I did like they scored what 35, and I'm like, yeah, all right, I expected that. I didn't expect Chicago to score 32. I thought they'd get to 10, but hey,
everyone
good
rushing
for
to
them,
grab
man.
Cole Kmet in fantasy football.
My dad had dropped him. He drafted him in every league, I think, and had dropped him like 2 weeks ago,
Hmm.
and now all of a sudden he's viable, so he's got to go pick him up again.
If he can get him
Hilarious,
now.
um, but yeah, should be fun to watch. Actually, Sunday Lions Bears, man, that should be another high scoring game, I think. But we'll get to that when we talk about next week's preview. Carolina Cincinnati. I want to point out the fact that last week's podcast, I was all over Cincinnati for that Monday night football game against Cleveland because they didn't run the ball enough. They heard me. Apparently, they are fans of the podcast because Joe Mixon had 153 yards and 4 touchdowns and also caught 4 passes for 58 yards and a touchdown. Imagine that. Jamar Chase is hurt. Let's turn to your next best offensive weapon, Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I remember that entire morning. It was just the Joe Mixon watch. Everything on Twitter was like, the Bengals have gone out. Joe Mixon will not score his 6th touchdown on this play because like 6 is like the league record for touchdowns in a game, and so like there was like the watch to see if he tied the record. That was pretty.
He got
funny.
close, but still have a hell of a game for them. For Carolina, and this kind of ties into last night too. So PJ Walker went 3 for 10 for 9 yards and 2 interceptions against Cincinnati, I think in the first half. Was benched, and they put in Baker Mayfield, who went 14 of 20 for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then they said PJ Walker is going to start last night, which he did because it was a short week. They won the game, but PJ Walker still only threw for like 100 and some odd yards, 108 yards or something. And they already said PJ Walker is going to start next week because they won. Fair, they did. I just don't understand, like, if Baker Mayfield comes off the bench and has a game like that, like, why do you not give him a chance Thursday? Like, it seems like everyone hates Baker Mayfield. Everyone, like, I don't see him being that bad, and maybe I'm just not watching. He had bad games when he was playing for Carolina earlier this year, but it seems weird to me that they'd stick with PJ Walker.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I get Baker Mayfield's not, an all top 10, top 15 quarterback in the league, but he's shown that he can be. Like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, what happened? What I want to know is why is PJ Walker starting? What happened to Darnold?
Darnold has been hurt. I think he's healthy now, or
so he was
coming off of IR.
He was fighting for the starting job, didn't win it, and then got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt, but he is I think he is back to practice now. Yeah.
It's just odd. They're like, you know what? We got these 2 guys and they're gonna fight for it. Oh, we don't think Mayfield's doing well. We're not gonna wait for Darnold. We'll just throw PJ Walker in because he's our future.
And Matt Rule coached PJ Walker in college, so that was kind of the connection of why he got signed, why he was starting. But now Matt Rule's gone, and Steve Wilkes is still like, oh, just leave PJ Walker in. But yeah, I mean,
I'm surprised they didn't sign Josh Rosen for Steve Wilkes.
Yeah.
That's his guy, right?
Seriously, I don't know, man. Like, I know Baker's. I like Baker as his personality, his drive. He's like Taylor Heineke. I like the guy. And I just haven't seen Baker play enough to be like, oh yeah, he is terrible. Because I remember watching him in Cleveland for a few years there. He was great. Well, not great. He was like good. Like, I would have taken Baker Mayfield in Washington in a heartbeat. But I don't know. I don't know if he's gotten absolutely terrible. But I look at that stat line from Sunday and think, man, he came off the bench and played really well.
Yeah.
Green Bay, Detroit. What an amazing game that was. I'm going to let you talk about it because you watched it. Oh, it was an amazing game. Green Bay lost. Any game Green Bay loses is an amazing game. Any game where Aaron Rodgers is unhappy is my favorite NFL game of all time.
I think it's easier to look back at it and say it was a great game, but when you have to sit and watch it, it
How
was
about a
not a
great
great
outcome?
game.
It was a
Yes,
great
it
outcome.
was a great outcome to the game
Yeah.
because most of what happened in that game was absolutely maddening and terrible. I mean, uh, Kirby, Kir, Kirby Joseph, is that his name?
The safety.
Yeah, our safety. It's
Yeah, that
let me
dude.
find
It's
it.
funny.
It's
I was looking up the Madden ratings
interceptions.
from last week, and he went up like 5 points
Yeah, Kirby
yesterday after
Joseph.
Sunday's game.
2 interceptions in the game. Played as like a crazy person. He was making tackles everywhere on the field, getting interceptions. This is a rookie, and he looks amazing. So what happens? Concussion protocol.
Of
Don't
course.
know if he's going to play this week. That's the second of our safeties that's hurt. Like, it's just the way it goes. It's maddening. There were so many injuries in that game. I think in that game alone, there were 9 Packer injuries, like 3 or 4 Lions injuries. Just
I
absolutely
saw all the
insane.
Packer ones. Yeah.
And then I don't know if you saw the meme I posted in our Discord.
No, I didn't.
It's the Uno meme. So let me bring it up so I can read it correctly here. But basically, it's like this:
I see it. Yeah.
call delay of game on the Packers or draw 25, and then it shows a picture of a guy holding half the deck in his hand.
Yes.
The clock went to 0 at least 9 times.
Yep.
Not once did they call delay of game. Not a single freaking time. It was so stupid.
They do that. My dad complains about every time he watches the Packers. They give Aaron Rodgers so much leeway with that damn play clock.
I'm like, it's not you called delay game a second and a half after 0. If it hits 0, it's delay a game. I don't know. It was just.
You know what I heard one time the NFL said, well, they count to 1 when it hits 0 because it's the tenths of a second. It's like 1 second, and then the clock hits 0, and then it's like 0.9, 0.8, 0.7. That's the NFL's logic behind it. But the actual logic is, well, we like the Packers, and we want to make sure they have every chance to win.
I was going to say, you just had what? What's the clock in the NFL? 35 seconds?
Yeah, I think it's 35.
So you just had 35 seconds. If it hits 00, you shouldn't be giving any more time. If it hits 00, it's over. Like, it makes no sense.
Oh, I agree. Believe me, yeah.
The only thing, the offense looked just abysmal. Jared Goff threw for 137 yards. Sure, he had 2 touchdowns.
Franchise quarterback.
But Jamal Williams rushed he had 24 rushes for only 81 yards. He worked his butt off for every single yard.
Aaron Rodgers was the Packers' leading rusher. I saw that stat and I was like, what happened? Were the Lions just stuffing the run game? Like Aaron Jones and...
Oh, yeah. See, that's the thing. I don't understand how we can have games where the defense, like lately, the defense has been the good side of the ball for us. And I don't know why that's happening, but the Packers couldn't do anything right. Like, they just looked absolutely terrible. Watching Aaron Rodgers throw his first game with 2 red zone interceptions, him throwing 3 overall, it was just amazing. Those are the parts I liked. Every second we were on offense, I didn't like, for the most part. So,
well, hopefully next year when CJ Stroud or Bryce Young is behind center throwing to J-Mo and Amon-Ra St. Brown, you'll like it.
I agree. People asked me earlier this week if I was mad the Lions won a game and ruined their pick, and I'm like, no. I don't care if they win. If they want to win, that's fine, especially against divisional opponents. If we had beaten the Panthers, then I probably would be more upset about it. But beating the Packers, a division foe, with Aaron Rodgers,
I think the
on
nice
the
thing
team,
too is like there's not a consensus number 1. It's not like Andrew Luck where it's like, oh man, we need the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
It's like there's like 3 quarterbacks that are going to go in the top 5. As long as the Lions end up in the top 5, they'll be fine.
Yeah, as long as
And
we
they
get
have
one.
plenty of draft picks to trade up if they want to. So,
Yep, exactly.
all right, Indy, New England. This is going to be a quick recap because I didn't watch this one, but I knew Bill Belichick wasn't going to lose to Sam Ellinger. I mean, come on now. Watching the highlights, I don't think Sam Ellinger's the guy in Indy. He's not a starter. He's a mid tier guy. But Jonathan Taylor missed another game. It just honestly, it seems like a lost season for him, which is a shame because that dude was amazing last year, and it just injury bug is hitting him. And it's rare for a running back to be like Derrick Henry and be healthy most of his career. And I'm hoping Jonathan Taylor bounces back next year and can play a full season again.
Well, I think they were expecting that. I think they were expecting him to not be hurt and be a Iron Man because they did not have a backup plan.
Nope.
Deion Jackson, not it. Signed Philip Lindsay, he's definitely not it. Like they just
cut him too.
They just did not have an answer for him getting hurt. Now he's back this week, thankfully, but yeah, they were not ready for that.
No.
And being 3-5-1 now
can't rely on Matt Ryan to be their offense.
No.
Buffalo and the Jets, gotta give you props. You called this upset. That was a hell of a pick. The Jets defense, man. I liked Sauce Gardner. I think I might love Sauce Gardner.
Dude, he's so good.
He is really good. They hassled Josh Allen, 2 interceptions, sacked him 5 times, pulled off a hell of an upset against a divisional foe. After the Giants kind of faltered against Seattle, it felt like New York football was that whole thing. Oh, New York football was kind of over, but the Jets made a statement with that game. Mm-hmm. They are not just a playoff contender, but they're going to be fighting for the division. Awesome.
They're going to be fun to watch, whether they're a division winner or a wild card in the playoffs.
Yes. Imagine if they are a wild card and they travel to face like the Titans, who will win their division out of luck. Yeah. They're gonna be fun, man. Good for the Jets. There's just a lot of players to like on the Jets. I hope they keep it up. For the Bills, I think the biggest thing coming out of that is just Josh Allen's injury. Is he actually gonna miss Sunday's game? Is he gonna play? Is it gonna linger? Because that's really gonna suck for Buffalo if he misses some games.
Yeah, that'll hurt them real bad, especially now that they're 6-2 with the Jets being 6-3.
And the Dolphins are 6-3.
Yeah, and if they end up losing, that's gonna make it. They gotta have him for sure.
Yeah. Minnesota, Washington. I just have to reiterate the fact that I know this game was close, and I know that Heineke's interception at the end is what cost us the game, but the flip side of that coin was the touchdown to Curtis Samuel. If you haven't seen it, it was pointed out afterwards. Everybody's laughing about it. Viking safety, I think it was Harrison Smith actually, was getting ready to intercept that ball, and then a referee ran into him and basically tackled him.
Yeah.
So Curtis Samuel caught the ball and rolled into the end zone. In a box score, in a stat line, it looks like, oh, he threw a touchdown pass to Curtis Samuel. Yes, but it was just luck. Like that should have been his first interception of the game, and then he throws another one in the fourth quarter. Heineke's not the guy, man, and I'm getting so exhausted by Commander fans who want him to keep playing and oh no, we got to stick with Heinicke. We really don't, guys. When Wentz, I don't want to see Wentz back. That's the one thing. When Wentz is healthy, I don't want Wentz. I'd rather they play Howell. Yes, I'd rather play Howell because I'm a firm believer of if you're not going to compete for the playoffs or the Super Bowl, then what's the fucking point? So play Howell and just give him a chance to develop because when he came out last year, he was a 5th round pick. The year before that, if he had come out, he was projected to go in the 1st round. So there's talent there. I just would like to see what he can do. And he's got a hell of an arm. And that's the one thing with Heinicke is he doesn't have an arm. He can't throw the ball deep. That's why that pass to Curtis Samuel was going to get intercepted because he hung it up in the air. Howell's got a cannon, a howitzer, See what I did there? Oh, yeah. So it's driving me nuts. My biggest fear though is Ron Rivera is going to put Carson Wentz back in when Wentz is healthy, and that's just going to piss me off even more. I'd I'd rather they play Howell, then Heineke, and then Wentz. Wentz, don't play him. Cut him after this year. I don't want him to start. I don't want to see him catch to snap a ball again for our team, because if he plays too many snaps, our pick for the Colts next year goes from a third to a second. Leave it as is. It's a third rounder. We lose it. Big deal. You play Wentz anymore and it goes to a second, and I'm going to lose my shit. So, for Minnesota, I like Kirk Cousins' little dance on the plane. That was fun. I always like Kirk. Great, just a fun guy. Shame it never worked out in Washington. What could have been?
Well, they
Vegas
didn't resign him.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we could have, like, back in 2015 or 2016 when he was first up for a contract before they franchised him twice, they could have paid him like $18 million a year, which would have been a huge discount. But they offered him like 14 because Dan Snyder is a petty, vindictive little dumbass. Just ridiculous circumstances. But anyways, Vegas, Jacksonville. Travis Etienne is fun to watch, man. That dude, and it sucks. He missed all last year with the injury and started off slow this year because James Robinson was balling out of control. But now that they were just like unleashing Travis Etienne, he's a fun running back to watch. There are a lot of really like young, really good running backs in the NFL. Yeah. The next couple of years are going to be really fun to watch if you're a fan of the run game. For Vegas, they can't put a complete game together. So Devontae Adams, 10 catches, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. Right, but then Josh Jacobs runs for 67 yards. Yeah. So like it's like every time Devontae Adams does well, Jacobs doesn't, and then every time Jacobs does well, Devontae doesn't. It's like if they could just do them both, they could probably stretch off some wins. But as of right now, the Raiders are bad. Seattle, Arizona. I was at this game. It was painful. The Seahawks, in my opinion, are the Cardinals' biggest rivals. I don't like them. I'm very unhappy to see them win, especially in Arizona. But again, young running backs, man. Kenneth Walker is awesome. For the Cardinals, though, my biggest complaint is they have so much quote-unquote talent on that offense, and they play the most boring football on offense I can remember this year. Last year, at least they were throwing the ball deep. I can't remember the last time Kyler Murray threw a deep pass. Everything is behind the line of scrimmage or 5 yards in front of it.
His average pass distance is 3.5 yards.
Yeah, it was right there. That's like, insane.
That's, you only got maybe
you remember the Hail Murray? The Hail Murray to DeAndre Hopkins? Remember when they traded for Hollywood Brown as our deep threat? Remember when they drafted Rondale Moore? I was going to call him Ronnie Moore. Rondale Moore to be our deep threat?
No deep balls. Guy that only catches the ball behind the line of scrimmage.
Yes. Everything is a screen pass. It is ridiculous watching that team. And I don't know, like, it wasn't like, I know Kingsbury hasn't been great at the end of the season the last 2 years, but this season it seems like he's just gone downright terrible. Like he's just lost his damn mind and can't remember how to call plays.
Well, here's a fun stat for you. DeAndre Hopkins had 4 catches in the first quarter and wasn't even thrown at more than once the rest of the game.
Yeah. No, because everything was going behind the line of scrimmage, and DeAndre Hopkins actually runs routes like a receiver.
That's my point. It's like this. They scored on the first drive of the game, which was the first score they've had on the first.
We got so excited
in the first quarter, the entire season, and then they waited until halfway through the third quarter to finally score again.
Yep. We were so excited, man. Like it felt like, all right, here we go. Like D-Hop ran up to, because he caught the touchdown in our end zone, ran up to me and my dad, like slapped hands like right in front of us. We got on TV, very exciting, and I was like, oh, here we go. Like, this is the Cardinals. This is what you expect. We're going to score some points. No, we're not going to score points. And we're also not going to stop Seattle because Geno Smith is the MVP this season, I guess. And I don't know, man, but it's so frustrating to be a Cardinals fan right now because we supposedly have a top 5 quarterback. We supposedly have an offensive guru head coach. They load up on receivers left and right. Robbie Anderson is oh my God. It's so dumb.
Let's just talk about that for a second. You gave up a 5th and a 6th rounder for Robbie Anderson, and you don't even use him. What was the point?
When they did throw to him, he dropped it. At the end of the first half, they could have kicked a field goal. The play right before Murray scrambled and fumbled. Robbie Anderson gets hit in the hands with the ball and drops it. The dude wants to complain about not getting thrown to in Carolina, so he bitches his way out, gets traded to Arizona, gets thrown to, and drops it. Like, it's just ridiculous. Steve Keim needs to be fired. Everybody needs to be fired. It's just so freaking annoying to think that, well, they extended him, so they're probably not going to fire anybody this year. Yep. Unbelievable. All right. Rams, Bucks. I honestly, I don't even care about this game. These two teams have fallen so far from where I thought they would be in the preseason. Brady's playing like a 45-year-old. The Rams, yeah, they've got Cooper Kupp, but other than that, it's just so meh. Like, I no interest in even recapping this game, to be quite honest.
Giant contract for Allen Robinson. Nobody even remembers he exists at this point.
Nope. Doesn't need to. Cooper Kupp is a machine. That dude, doesn't matter how many people are covering him, he's still going to catch 8 passes for 200 yards. Tennessee, Kansas City was actually pretty exciting Sunday night. I thought Tennessee was, at halftime, I think it was 14-9. It really looked like Tennessee was going to be able to pull off that upset with Malik Willis at quarterback. Like, that would have been a pretty amazing outcome. But, Patrick Mahomes is going to Patrick Mahomes. He ended up throwing for 400 some odd yards. Tennessee, I think Malik Willis attempted 10 passes, which makes sense. It's funny. They're doing what the Bears did with Justin Fields at the beginning of the year. We're not going to make you do very much passing. We're just going to hand the ball off a lot. That didn't work for the Bears. It's like, why don't you let Malik Willis do what he did in college that made him successful? Like, why do teams continuously be like, we're going to draft this guy that was really good in college and then make him do something else in the NFL?
They're like, no, that's not my offense. We have to make him conform to what I think he should be good at.
It always, my favorite story of that is Albert Hainsworth. Albert Hainsworth was one of the best nose tackles in a 3-4 in the NFL, becomes a free agent. Washington signs him, puts him as a defensive tackle in the 4-3, and the dude was garbage because that's not what he was good at.
With a giant freaking contract.
Oh, the $100 million man. For the Chiefs, I'm very happy. As a guy that I really thought Juju Smith-Schuster was going to go off this year, it's nice to see that he's actually getting an opportunity, starting to flourish a little bit in Kansas City. Kelsey will always be number one, but it seems like Juju is solidifying himself as their number 2 receiver.
In the Kadarius Toney watch, he had 2 catches.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney.
2 throws.
Another great receiver traded for no reason. It's like the Giants would. It's like the Panthers were going to cut Robbie Anderson. The Giants probably would have cut Kadarius Toney too.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Baltimore, New Orleans. This is another game. I watched this game. I was actively in front of a television watching this game. Don't remember this game at all. That's how boring this game was. Unbelievable. I do want to say though
that any game that the Saints play the rest of this year is probably going to be that way unless Taysom Hill goes off again.
Well, and I just can't get excited for Andy Dalton. Like, and the fact that he's starting over Jameis Winston now that Winston's healthy, I don't know, man. Whatever. I do want to say Isaiah Likely. I like him. I like Likely. If they didn't have Mark Andrews, I think Isaiah Likely would be a breakout tight end. But as of right now, he's just a really good backup tight end. But wherever that guy ends up,
after he's done there on his first contract, he'll wind up somewhere kind of like what's his face,
Uzma. Oh, CJ Uzma. Yeah,
Uzma, who was the backup in Cincinnati, left.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think so too. And it'll be like he'll probably get overpaid by Washington or something.
Which is funny because when you were talking about the our top 5 players from our teams, and you're talking about if you got a quarterback, I'm like, all then you would need is a tight end because I don't see Logan Thomas being there that long. So
It's funny. We have a tight end who I really like, Cole Turner, who's a rookie. The dude is 6'7". He is just like a tower in the end zone. I love it. Speaking of tight ends, I do want to point this out. I didn't have Chris Cooley on my list of favorite all-time commanders, but he's it's fine. Him and Tress Way were like 6 and 7. I do Chris Cooley C squared. Not only was he awesome on the field, but he's also a fun commentator. He doesn't do it anymore, but he did their radio broadcast for a while, and I used to love listening to him.
he kind of reminds me. If you had made that pick and I had to make something comparable, mine would have been Corey Schlesinger because I loved him.
Nice.
Great
Yes.
pass catcher out of the fullback position, and then spent most of his career blocking and making Barry Sanders as open as he was.
Underappreciated is that fullback position, man.
Well, let me ask you a question. When someone says fullback, what's the first name that comes to your mind? I'm wondering if it's the same one as me. Think giant neck brace.
Oh, Mike Allstott?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will always think of Mike Allstott because that guy was a freaking
I was
machine.
actually thinking of the Cardinals fullback they had for a while. Cannot remember his name right now. I want to say it was Larry something.
Larry
But
Centers?
I gotta look it up now. Yes, Larry Centers. Yeah. That was the first one I thought of. But yeah, Mike Allstott. Yeah, he was a beast too. I love that neck brace.
Nobody had a corner or a fullback that anyone ever really remembered the name, but Mike Allstott would run over everyone every time I got the ball. And he kind of the only person I can compare now to what Mike Allstott was is not even a power runner guy, but he's the catch guy fullback that everyone knows, Kyle Juszczyk of the 49ers. That's the only other fullback that I can name right now.
Yeah, I know the Ravens, I think, have a fullback that's pretty good, but I don't know his name because I don't know that team well enough. But yeah, Kyle Juszczyk is definitely right now probably the most famous fullback. All right, but that was week 9. I think it went pretty quick. Like I said, I was at the game, so I didn't have a lot of firsthand things to talk about.
I'll be back in a second.
All right, I'm going to go into my Thursday night foreplay then. So last night, Falcons-Panthers, good win for the Panthers. Not overly impressive for PJ Walker, but Donta Foreman, man, that was a good game for him. I think I saw it was his third game over 100 yards in the 4 games since they traded McCaffrey, so it's pretty good for him. But as far as our Thursday night foreplay went, once again, missed it. I was 3 out of 4, and I am freaking livid about it because I purposely went easy on the odds trying to get a win. I had Terrence Marshall over 33.5 receiving yards. I think he ended up with 70-something. Over 39.5 points. I actually did an alternate spread or an alternate total point and bought down a little bit just so I could get a little easier target. The Panthers plus 3.5. I think the line was plus 2.5, and I again bought down a little bit, but they ended up winning anyway, so that was easy. But the one I missed was PJ Walker over 163.5 passing yards. I cannot believe that guy couldn't throw 164 passing yards. So freaking annoying. He ended up with like 108 or some crap. But man, I think next week I might go the opposite and just do completely unrealistic bets with like a plus 20,000 odds, so that if I do win, I win like $100,000 or something like that. But yeah, that was my bet, and
that's got to be the one you want to win, right?
Right. Well, I want to win any of them. I just want to win one.
If I get a win and it becomes that one, it'll be like, well, at least
At this point, I just want to win one. So maybe I'll do it even worse. I'll actually do like total points plus over 10. Like just the easiest possible bets just to win a foreplay.
Well, I went with what I considered my easiest one as well. And I happened to do the worst that I've ever done. I didn't hit a single one.
That's
Not
crazy.
one.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I stopped paying attention when they did not hit the Falcons didn't get over 10.5 points in the first half.
Yeah, because you were sunk right then.
I was sunk, so I stopped paying attention. This is the first time I'm looking at it. I missed all four. I had the Falcons over 21.5 points in the game. They didn't hit that. Cordell Patterson over 55.5 yards. I think he had 18.
And I would have thought that he would have gotten that one because he had like 90 the week before or the game before. So
40 is like around where it is for like the over and under, right? He's had a lot of games right around 40, and then he's had breakout games like a 144-yard game, 115-yard game. So I'm like, he'll either hit 55 or he'll be in the 40s, you know? But instead, what I got out of it was
5
Cordell
carries for 18
5
yards.
for 18 yards. Yeah. So I was like, great, perfect, love it. And then the other one is I had the Falcons on the 2.5 spread. I'm like, all they had to do was win, because the odds were pretty good there for that. So I didn't hit any of them. 0 for 4.
It was an ugly game. It was an ugly game.
Nothing
It's all right.
went the way anyone thought it was going to. So good.
We'll get them next week.
I think next week I'm going to play the Thursday night 10 play and just see what happens.
Hey, there you go. I like the idea. I might literally just do the easiest bet ever. My odds will be like minus 5,000. I'll win $1 betting 5, but I'm gonna freaking win.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that leads us into week 10 and our week 10 preview. How are we looking in our season pick standings?
So as far as the week 9 results go, I picked up a game on you. I went 9-2. You went 8-3. If the
Falcons point out that that's amazing that we both 9-2 and 8-3. That's a really good winning percentage for that week, man. Like I'm bummed at myself for not making more bets on like my picks.
Well, what's crazy is if the Falcons hadn't screwed up and won that game in the end, I would have been 10-1.
Man,
So,
and the only one would have been the Packers Lions, right?
No, I picked the. Oh yeah, that would have been the only loss.
Yeah.
So.
Pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. So you are now 76-48. I am 74-50. I'm 2 games behind now.
You got closer. I gotta make up some distance this week.
Making my way downtown, walking fast. Yeah, pretty good week for sure. That I think it was the Cowboys game was the only other different one that me and you had, and that was the game that no, it was the Rams game. So I picked the Bucks, you picked the Rams. That was the one that I got back from you.
Ah, yes. Yeah, damn Rams.
But we'll see what happens this week, because we've got another fun one here just to start things off. Seattle at Tampa Bay, with Tampa Bay favored by 2.5 points. The line is pretty close on this one.
It is pretty close. Well, as you requested last week, you get to go first this week. So,
all right. Well, I am going to take Seattle.
Good. That's who I was taking too.
Because I'm like, Tampa Bay is not showing me anything. They beat the bad Rams last week. Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm at the point with Seattle where I just have to begrudgingly admit that it's working there.
It's not it's not a fluke.
Yeah, I mean, Geno Smith has completely turned his career around, and good for him. I'm nothing against Geno Smith. The defense is starting like 4 or 5 rookies. Did you know that their defense?
Yeah.
Like out of their starting 11,
offense.
Their
offense has 2 left. Their right and left tackle are rookies, and Geno Smith's doing what he's doing.
I still don't like Pete Carroll, but I have to admit Seattle is having a good season. It's like a magical season for them. So, and Tampa Bay looks like ass. I mean, Tom Brady is an old man, and yeah, I got nothing.
Next up, you've got Minnesota at Buffalo. Buffalo is favored by 3 points. The real question is where we're at with Josh Allen.
I know that what makes this one so tough picking on Friday, because they said he's hour to hour. He's not even day to day. They're gonna make a decision like leading into the game.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Let me go. I'm gonna go look just before I make my pick at what the current status is. What it says. It says
Probably questionable.
Yeah, it's questionable.
Yeah.
Being deemed a limited practice participant on Friday, so he's limited. He did practice, so that's good. I'm gonna go with the Bills.
All right, I'm going with the Vikings.
All right.
I think if Josh Allen does play, he's not 100%. So I think Minnesota can pull this off.
Had to down that Gatorade before I kept going.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. If the referees can get in Harrison Smith's way again, then things look great.
Yeah, you never know.
Next up, we've got Detroit at Chicago, with Chicago -3. I'm actually going to pick Chicago.
Oh, I thought you'd go with the Lions in this one.
I might go with the Lions if the Lions could ever stop a quarterback that can run. And since Justin Fields went crazy last week running the ball, I feel like the Lions are somehow going to actually cover passes, and then he's just going to run for 10 first downs, let's just say. So I'm taking Chicago.
I'm also taking Chicago. I think this one will be close. I think Detroit can score some points. They've done it earlier this year. Miami scored points all over Chicago's defense. I expect this game to be like the Bears Dolphins. I think it'll be a 3-point game. But I think Chicago gets the win.
By the way, going back to the Lions game this last week, just real quick, we trade Hawkinson, and then Shane Zylstra and James Mitchell, our two tight ends. The other two tight ends were the ones that scored the touchdowns to win against the Packers.
That's pretty awesome.
The rookie tight end had his first touchdown, and Shane Zylstra, who wasn't a rookie, but also never had a touchdown, scored his first touchdown. So that was crazy to me.
Just showing Hawkinson you don't even need him.
I think we'll be all right. And it's funny
because Campbell wanted to prove to Hawkinson that he didn't need him. He's like, the tight ends are going to catch the touchdowns today.
Brock Wright didn't even have a touchdown, but he didn't need to do anything. The other two tight ends did it all. Next up, we've got Jacksonville at Kansas City. Kansas City's favored 9.5 points. I don't think that this is any... Yeah, Jacksonville finally got back on the winning side last week, but I don't think they're going to... I think this game will be close, within 10 points probably, but I still think Kansas City wins.
I agree. I think Jacksonville covers the 9.5, but they're not going to win. If they were able to win this game, it would mean that the Jacksonville from the first 2 or 3 weeks, like all of a sudden reappeared, and the Chiefs from the first half against Tennessee played all 4 quarters. Like it would be damn near miraculous for Jacksonville to pull this off. It might be like Tennessee. They might lead at halftime, but Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He'll come back and win this game in the second half.
Yeah.
But I am glad to see Christian Kirk. This is just a fun tidbit I saw earlier when I was looking for fantasy leaders. Christian Kirk is the 10th highest scoring receiver in fantasy this year. Good for Christian Kirk, man.
Yeah, he's doing awesome.
Yeah.
I drafted him in one of my leagues, and he's tearing it up.
Me too.
Cleveland at Miami. Miami favored 3.5 points. Miami. It's gonna
Agreed.
be a hard sell for me to ever pick the Browns. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean the Browns are better than I expected with Jacoby Brissett, but Miami's also much better than the Browns. Like I got Miami easily. I mean I know the Browns defense is good. Their pass rush is good, but Tua could scramble and they've got too many weapons for Cleveland to cover. Like, yeah, Miami's gonna win.
For sure. Houston at the New York Giants. The New York Giants favored 5.5 points. I am going to take the Giants because once again, I don't think I could take the Houston. If Detroit was playing Houston this week, I would definitely pick Detroit. There are several teams where they're at the very bottom of the league, and I would pick Detroit over them.
I agree. I do like some of the things Houston has going. I'm blanking on their running back's name right now.
Damian Pierce, who's
thank
hurt,
you.
and Mike.
Is he hurt?
Yeah, he's hurt. He's questionable,
Oh.
but they say he's probably going to play. So
yeah. Well, I mean, the Giants are going to win, but I was just going to say that I like Damian Pierce. Like, I like Houston's got some talent. They just need to continue building into next year. But the Giants will. And I think the Giants are coming off their bye, too. So they should be ready to get back to the magic they had before they played Seattle.
All right. Next up, you've got New Orleans favored by 1.5 points at Pittsburgh. This one is interesting to me. I think the Pittsburgh didn't play last week. They're coming off their
bye.
Their bye. The Saints got throttled by the Ravens. I'm gonna pick the Steelers.
I am also going to pick the Steelers. This was also going to be my bonus bet. I'm going to pick the Steelers +3. I think they win by at least a field goal. I think coming off their bye, plus TJ Watt is back. I think they're gonna finally be able to get their defense going. And I like Chris Olave for the Steelers. But there's nothing really. Andy Dalton doesn't impress me. I can't pick an Andy Dalton-led team. I know Kenny Pickett hasn't looked that great, but after the bye week, maybe he got some extra practice in. Maybe he'll come out and have himself a solid game.
It's funny to me that last week, since we started the confidence thing, neither of us has gotten them.
Nope, I know.
It's hilarious to me. So we'll see what happens there. Next up, Denver at Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by 2.5 points. I'm actually going to take Denver.
So was I.
Because
all the same close games, we both landed on the same underdog upsets.
well, it's just really boils down to quarterbacks. And even though Russell Wilson hasn't done well this season, he's still better than Malik Willis. And until Malik Willis has a game where he's not throwing 80 yards on 16 passes, you're going to have a hard time winning. Because Derrick Henry, as good as he is, isn't going to be able to run and win. I don't know. I just don't think he's going to be able to carry that team over Denver.
Oh, I completely agree. In fact, spoiler alert, Russell Wilson is my fantasy sleeper quarterback because Tennessee is, I think, 30th against the pass. So I think Russell Wilson actually bounces back and has his first good game of the season.
Nice. Well, hopefully, because I have to start him in one of my leagues. So,
there you go. You'll be rooting for him, too.
Yeah. I had some, terrible named not backup, but, terrible lower-end quarterback starting at quarter. Oh, no, I've been playing Sam Wilson for, 4 weeks but he's actually been doing good as far as points go compared to Russell Wilson. So Russell Wilson's been sitting the bench while I start Zach Wilson. But Zach Wilson was either like had an injury designation this week, and I just put Russell in there, and I don't want to move him out now. So something happened there, but
I think the Jets are on their bye this week.
maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's definitely what it is. Jets are on their bye. So next up, you've got Dallas at Green Bay. Dallas
We
is
skipped
favored by.
Colts at Vegas.
No, that's fine. We'll go back. Dallas at Green Bay. Dallas is favored by 4.5 points. I'm going to take Dallas in this one after watching Green Bay last week. And I'm going to make that my confidence pick and say they win by 5.
I'm also going to take Dallas, but I would like it noted that this is the kind of game that Aaron Rodgers would just come out of nowhere and win just for no reason. Playing against a superior team when everyone's counted him out and mocking him, it would be just like the Packers to come and win this game, and then everybody would be like, "Oh, the Packers are back. Told you they're fine." But yeah,
lose
I
2
think,
weeks in a row, and
yeah, like they've lost like what 5 games in a row or something. Like Dallas should win this game. They're my pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay pulls this one out of their ass.
yeah,
Or if the
they're pretty
if the
good at
NFL
that.
helps them pull it out of their ass. The NFL would love to have the Packers win, I'm sure.
Exactly. So next up would be the Indianapolis Colts at the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are favored by 4.5 points. And I'm taking the Raiders because A, they're at home, and B, Sam Ehlinger just looks absolutely terrible. Now, the only thing that might make this actually close and where I missed this pick is the fact that what's his face is back. The halfback. Jonathan Taylor's back. So
yeah, I'm gonna go with the Raiders. It's the same thing for me. If Matt Ryan was starting this game, I probably would have taken the Colts. But because it's Ehlinger, I think the Raiders win.
yep. Ehlinger's just gonna make me pick against them almost every time.
Yeah, he's got to show me something for me to pick him. I haven't seen anything out of him, so I can't in good conscience choose a team quarterbacked by him until he proves he can play the position. I don't have a lot of faith in the Raiders, but I mean, even if Jonathan Taylor plays, it's like, all right, we'll just stuff the line of scrimmage because Ehlinger can't throw.
So I think we might be different on this next one. We'll see. Arizona at the LA Rams. The Rams are favored by 3. I'm picking Arizona because the Rams are bad, and Arizona can win away from home. They just can't win at home. So I'm going to take the Cardinals.
That's fair, but you know what Arizona can't do is beat Sean McVay. So I'm picking the Rams.
True.
In fact, let me see here. Sean McVay versus Cardinals.
9-1, I think.
10-1 in the regular season and playoffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rams all the way. They are bad. Don't get me wrong. I do agree the Rams are bad, but for some reason, it's like Sean McVay is their kryptonite.
But every once in a while, there is that one game.
There is. We've beaten him once.
Yeah,
it'll happen again someday.
That one game has happened.
It will happen again one day. Maybe it's Sunday.
You got the LA Chargers at San Francisco with San Francisco. I'm flabbergasted by this number. San Francisco is favored by 7 points against the Chargers.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised by how high that was.
That's massive. I don't even know if I want to pick San Francisco. I kind of like the Chargers in this one. I'm going to take the Chargers. I just don't think San Francisco's that good. I mean, they're not bad, but
I think the reason is because San Francisco's defense is doing so well, and I know Deebo Samuel is back this week. So I'm going to pick the 49ers. Also, I know Keenan Allen once again isn't playing. I don't know about Mike Williams, but it sucks. I want the Chargers to be good. I want them to be competing for the division in the playoffs, but they've just got so many injuries this year. And it's like Justin Herbert is such a good quarterback, and he's getting no love this season because he just has no one to throw to.
I could change my answer, right?
You have until the end of the podcast. That's
right.
The rule set in place.
I'm going to go back with the 49ers only for the fact that how bad Herbert looks whenever Mike Williams or Keenan Allen is out.
No. It's a shame, man. It's such a shame. I really wish I really want the Chargers to be good, but it's just not.
Yeah. Yep, I'm with you. Washington at Philadelphia. Philadelphia favored by 10.5 points. I'd like to pick an upset here, but I don't see that happening.
Believe me, I would love to think that there was a possibility of an upset. It's not just the fact that our offense wouldn't be able to score enough points against Philly's defense. It's that our defense won't be able to stop Philly's offense. Definitely picking Philadelphia. And it's also a primetime game where Washington likes to just suck. And it's in Philly with their fans, which, it's... 10.5. I do think we cover because Philly doesn't blow people out anyways.
Yeah.
So I do think we cover 10.5, but we're going to lose this ball game. Absolutely.
Yep. Makes sense. Well, we wound up with a couple different there. Bills, Vikings.
We got
and,
two. Yeah.
Bills, Vikings, and Arizona Rams. So
yeah.
We'll see what
Plus
happens.
our bonus picks, if we can ever hit those, we'll could definitely make a big difference. So some opportunity for you to close the gap still this week.
For sure.
All right, so there we go. We made our picks. We're gonna move into our fantasy sleepers. Recapping week 9's picks. I had Kirk Cousins as my quarterback. He went into the week ranked 13th at the position, finished 9th. So I don't really consider that a win. It's more of a wash. I mean, he did finish higher than his rank, but not enough to impress me. You had Sam Ehlinger against the Patriots, who scored 8 points. Although, to be fair, by this point in the podcast last week, you were pretty inebriated. So,
to preview Week 10 early, I will not be making picks this week because that is 2 weeks in a row with what you're about to hear happening. So,
but you're all right. That's fair. My running back, I had Tyler Algier. He was the 21st ranked running back. Again, finished 16th, higher than his ranking, but not enough for me to really consider that a win. He had 13.3 points. You picked Leonard Fournette. I don't remember where he ranked going into the week, but he finished 20th with 11 points. So not great.
Receiver. To assume he was higher than that.
I would assume so, yes.
Yeah.
Receiver, this one I'm very proud of. I picked Christian Kirk, who was 19th ranked going into the week. He finished 4th with 21.6 points, top 5. Great call by me. Pat myself on the back. Your receiver, you went with Chase Claypool, new to the Bears team. And even though they score a bunch of points, none of them went to Claypool. He finished with 3.7. They did. And in fact, that last pass where he got interfered with that the refs didn't call, that would have been some more points that he could have had for you.
Yep.
So, tight end, we both whiffed on. I threw a Hail Mary with Taysom Hill, assuming that he'd get a trick play touchdown on Monday Night Football. He got 1.25 points. You took Kyle Pitts, which breaks my heart to say he only had 4.7. That dude is being so wasted in Atlanta right now. It is so annoying.
At least one of my guys this week had more points than one of your guys.
Yes, so, your tight end finished with more points.
I'm not a total failure.
So all in all, not a great week by any means overall. I just had my wide receiver call, which I'll run with that. So for week 10, I will be the only one making picks, apparently. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson at quarterback. I mentioned it earlier. Tennessee has the 30th pass defense. He is ranked 25th at the position going into the week, behind Taylor Heineke and Sam Ehlinger. Russell Wilson does not finish. If he does not finish ahead of both of those guys, I will not make any more picks the rest of the year. I will just be done making fantasy football picks. Russell Wilson against the Tennessee 30th pass defense has got to score more points than Heineke and Ellinger. Ridiculous. Running backs, I'm going with DeAndre Swift against the Bears. The Bears have the 29th run defense. He's ranked 17th. I think based off of especially PPR wise, he's going to catch some passes. He's going to run on them. I think he finishes in the top 10 is my guess with that. For receiver, I'm going to go Josh Palmer had a pretty good game last week because no one else was there to catch the ball. I'm going to think he has another good game this week. The 49ers, 21st against the pass. Palmer's ranked 22nd at receiver. I think the Chargers are going to have to throw the ball to stay in this game. So I'm thinking Palmer, again, catch some passes, get some yards. Should finish higher than 22nd. And for tight end, I'm going with Cade Otton, the tight end in Tampa Bay. Seattle's 32nd against the tight end position. Cade Otton's ranked 19th. Brady seems to like him. He's had some good games ever since they started getting more involved. So I mean, especially he's ranked 19th. He's got to finish above 19. At tight end, unlike with Kirk Cousins, where he finished a few spots ahead and I didn't consider to win. If Cade Otton finishes 14th, I'll consider to win because tight end freaking sucks, man.
Well, I really hope so
because dead.
In our dynasty league, I had Tyler Conklin and Marcus Andrews or Mark Andrews, right?
Mark Andrews. Marcus is his formal name.
Okay, so I have Mark Andrews and Tyler Conklin. Mark Andrews is out, and Conklin's on a bye this week. Conklin is almost 30, so I'm like, well, I'll drop him, pick up a young tight end that might be on the up and up. And the one that I picked up to kind of stash to see where they wind up next year as far as like tight ends go is Cade Otton, and I have him starting in the Dynasty League this week because of Andrews being out. So if this does happen, I will be very happy because he is starting for me in one of my leagues. So
well, I'm calling it for you. I think it's going to happen.
I saw that on there, and it's funny because if I did make picks this week, he would have been the one I was thinking of. And since you already did it, I would have had to find another one. So I'm just glad I'm not making picks.
All right. Well, you can take the week off, but hopefully
come back
you come back next week.
I'll come back next week.
I just want to point out that you were pretty drunk last week when you were making your picks, so I would fault that instead of just your picks themselves.
I don't remember what I was drinking last week.
I don't know.
I had some kind of beer, I'm pretty sure. I had sangria this week if I wanted it, but I was like, you know what? I'm not doing it. So
well, and hey, it helped because we finished in under 2 hours this time.
Hells yeah. Hour and 45 minutes. That's not too shabby.
Make it a little easier for all of our listeners out there to be able to finish a full episode without,
digest
having to take an intermission in between.
Like nobody mows their lawn for 3 hours, so
yeah. Long haul truckers, man. That's our key demographic.
Yeah, exactly. You're driving to the game this week?
Yeah.
Saturday, good to go.
Got a road trip going. Got my Coffin Corner podcast ready to go. Driving from LA to New York.
There you go. Well, that's going to do it for us this week on the Coffin Corner Podcast. The normal spiel for the end here. Come check us out on Twitter, Coffin Corners. You can find us on TikTok, Coffin Corner Podcast. We really need to get back into that because that was a lot of fun at the beginning of the season. And
I've had a couple ideas, but I'm not a performer,
I have about 8 different sounds that I want to use, and I just got to think of TikToks to make with them. And I have a lot of
what I think we
content
need to do
with
is we need to plan the TikTok together, but then have your kids actually be the ones that we record doing it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I'll make a promise to get at least one out on there this week. So there you go.
Right.
Coffin Corner Podcast. Go check that out. You can also go to discord.me/Coffin Corners or Coffin Corner. And you can join our Discord through there where you can find out when we're going to be streaming if it is not on a Friday night. And if it is, then you can find out when we go live because a lot of people did not know this week that we were doing it an hour earlier because of the fact that here in Arizona, we do not do daylight savings time like the rest of you.
Oh, that is a great point. I totally forgot about that.
So, yeah. Well, there you go. So go check out the Discord, discord.me/Coffin Corner. And until next week, it'll be fun to watch these games this week. Go join that Discord. Come talk to us about them Sunday. And we shall see you there. Until then.
I just got to say, Roki, because you reminded me, this is a great week of football because I get to watch the Lions and Bears. I never get to watch Lions games because they're always playing at the same time as either my team or the Bears. But they play each other, so I get to watch them. Then I get to watch the Cardinals in the afternoon. And then I get to watch Washington on Monday. So I actually get to watch like all of the teams that I want to watch. I get to see them all play.
That's pretty good, for sure.
Yeah, I'm very excited. This is the first Lions game I'll actually be able to watch, and like completely watch this season. And so very exciting.
Oh, that's why he's complaining about Goff.
Oh, that's why he's always mad.
That's why he really does not like that guy.
I bet Jared Goff goes off this week, and I'm going to be like, "What? Why do you hate him? He's so good."
Well, he's good at playing the. He's good at tricking people. So he somehow tricked Dan Campbell into not drafting a quarterback last season. So.
Ooh.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll be back next week with episode 14. Thanks for listening this week, and we shall see you then.
Bye, everybody.